Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Big Blues podcast. I'm your host, Dan Coover, along with Matt DeSimo. Matt, how are you?
I am
Dumb
doing very,
question.
very, very, very poor today.
That was a really stupid question. Today sucks. The Giants lost for the second straight year. That's probably a record. For the second straight year, we've lost on a shitty 60-plus yard field goal.
Actually, I want to say that ESPN Stats and Info had a tweet today that said that since last year, only 360-yard kicks have been made since the start of last season, and 2 of them are game winners against the Giants. And it was also the longest game-winning field goal today against any team.
Yeah. Yep. That sums it up. And part of me, the logical part of me just wants to blame the defense for not holding them and the referees. The illogical part of me wants to blame the boat curse just a little bit, but I'm not going to do that. Which, if you go to our blog, pf366.com, I talk about the boat curse. I talked about that last week. But yeah, I honestly, that's something that's almost, you can't defend a 63-yard kick going in. Like, I know you could block it or whatever like that, but most kicks don't get blocked. You cannot. It's an almost indefensible play, and we lost really the past 2 seasons. 60-plus yard kicks have put us in holes, and that's just the way our luck's been the past couple of seasons. It's been absolutely miserable.
It comes to a point where, I mean, I know we wrote about it today, about how, like, we deserve to win this game. Like, this felt like a game that we should have won. Obviously, it's upsetting that we didn't win, but Shermer talked about it, Eli talked about it, and their post game presses, and it's one of those things. It's like, wow, this really sucks because I other than the defense, obviously you don't want to give up 33 points. But I mean, in a lot of ways, the Giants did what they should have done today to win this football game.
Right.
And it just
quite
didn't happen.
Frankly, the defense, in their defense, 7 points came because Odell misjudged a punt and it hit off his foot. Which we'll get to Odell a little bit later. And then another 7 points came because the referees gifted them. They handed them a gift on a silver platter by calling that bullshit Landon Collins alleged helmet-to-helmet call that fucking ruined the game. So they gifted them that. So you take 33, you minus 14. That's 19 points the defense should have allowed. So that was an absolutely gutless call by that official. Gutless.
What I want to know is, how is it hitting a defenseless player if you're diving for the ball, so you're making a play on the ball, you actually touch said ball, okay, and then you're not even looking at the player that you allegedly hit.
And you know what? You could bet your asses if the fucking wide receiver did the same exact thing that Collins does, there's no penalty remotely, and there shouldn't be a penalty on either person because they were both just going for the ball. It's football, and they're going to ruin the game. They've already tried. Collins even said that in his post-game interview. I mean, I listened to it, and he basically, it's not even football anymore. And because it's not even football anymore, that cost us today's. That was such a huge pivotal moment in the game.
It was because that play gets the Giants off the field. It would have been 3rd and 12. The Giants come off the field, and I mean, who knows what happens from there?
Yeah, exactly. And then on top of it, we can't. Cutting Hunter Sharp might end up being the thing that cost us this season in like a really weird way, simply just because if you look at it, we have not found somebody who can return kicks this whole year. It cost us a chance to win the Jags game. I doubt we would have, but it cost us a chance. We've just had kick return and punt return issues this whole year. We should just Sharp. He returned a touchdown in preseason on a punt, which is better than anybody else has done. So,
and Odell wasn't bad actually returning today. Like, he really wasn't awful.
But dude, listen, if you get the ball at the 5, you get the ball at the 5.
That one mental error really, really screwed the pooch. I mean,
it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And I don't know. I probably sound very angry right now, but I am, because to have so many expectations going into this season, to have so much talk about the team, how Saquon, and listen, Saquon's been great. Odell, who runs his mouth like a little child a lot of times, he still had a great year, all things considered. So it's just very frustrating to hear all this talk, to hear everything, talk so highly about your team, and to it's just been a nightmare. It's been a nightmare start to this season. 1-4. Is the team better than last year? Yeah, but
I mean,
still a nightmare. We're 1-4.
We're 1-4. Obviously, we've had a really rough schedule to start the season off as well. Like that obviously should also be put in there. I mean, Jacksonville is a good football team. New Orleans is a good football team. This Carolina Panther team is a good football team.
Yeah, they're 3-1. Probably shouldn't be, but they are.
So I mean, obviously, Houston's not, Dallas isn't. But we've had a rough stretch of games here, and ultimately it comes down to that. We're just not. The team's not doing enough. It's not getting it. It's not. They're not getting it done.
They're getting almost the way there. They're incapable of playing a complete game. Whether it's B.W. Webb taking a stupid penalty on a 4th down try, or Kareem Martin on a 4th and 8 jumping on a punt that then just snowballed into them getting more conversions, and they didn't even score on that drive. But that's the kind of shit that we've been doing all year. That's the kind of shit that we've been doing the past 7 years. Hell, it's really the kind of shit that's been it's always happened with the Giants, actually. But
how about
hasn't always killed us?
How about Eli Apple forcing the fumble on Cam Newton and us deciding to recover the ball with our foot out of bounds?
Yeah, and you know what? And I think it was Curtis Riley who recovered that. In his defense, that's a tough play. Just because.
But that's just we're talking about Giants luck. That's Giants luck right there.
Luck. It's horrible luck. And I forget, did they end up? I think they did end up scoring on that drive, right?
I'm not even sure. If I'm being honest with you, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know either. But it's just a terrible feeling. The season's probably. I mean, like, if we're being totally honest, the season's probably over. I'm not saying we can't go on a run. I'm just saying, if you bet the odds, if you look at the odds, they're stacked against us right now. We have to win the next 3 games now. We have to win the next 3 games to even have a chance.
I want to put things in perspective, okay? If the Giants want to have a chance of making the playoffs, they need to get to 10-6. That would mean that after being a 1-4, we would need to go 4-1 and 4-1, and at that point we would be 9-6, playing for an opportunity to actually, get into the playoffs. Because I mean, in the NFC, you got to be 10-6. The division, the teams are too good.
You're absolutely right. You will absolutely have to be 10-6. And when you look at who we play, we got the Eagles on Thursday night.
I do want to say, look, our next 4 or so games are easier than I guess the next 5 games are easier than the last 5 games. For what it's worth.
Sure. You're not wrong, but okay, we play the Eagles, whose front 7 might actually eat our offensive line alive on Thursday. I think we can win that game, but Eli might get sacked 10 times. He might. Then we got who we got after that? Atlanta
on Monday night. In Atlanta on Monday night.
Atlanta sucks this year, but that's a tough place to play. Atlanta. It is a tough place to play.
We're gonna have to match them. Defensively, they're not good, but offensively, we're gonna have to score points.
Yeah, and clearly that's not something our team's good at. We did enough today. Our offense scored enough points today. Give them credit. They did. Okay, and then after that, Washington. We don't really know how good Washington is because the fucking NFL is so dumb. They give teams week 4 buys in a 17-week season. So we don't really know if that team's good or not.
Nope, we really don't.
Division game, it can go either way. So obviously I'm angry at the NFL because they can't, give us a break ever, whether it's scheduling us Dallas 18,000 times in the first 10 weeks of the season, which happens every year. At Dallas, it feels like. Sorry, that's another tangent. Okay, after the bye, we got San Francisco.
I mean, again,
hopefully we beat CJ Beathard.
That just looks at the next, and then obviously we have Tampa. So that looks at the next 5 games. I mean, yeah. I think they're all winnable. But if you're the Giants, you have to win. I mean, if you want any chance at this season being something, you got to win 4 out of the next 5.
Yeah.
and then you're sitting
Yeah,
at 5
but
and
more
5 in
likely,
week 10. But really, you probably need to win all 5.
yeah, probably. You probably do. And quite frankly, I just don't see it happening. Like,
No,
I'm
I
not
don't
saying
either.
it can't happen. I'm not saying it can't. I'm not saying it's impossible. Teams have gone on runs before, but when you're 1-4, the odds of you going to the playoff are slim. So we'd be better served looking at another top 10 pick in the NFL draft that hopefully we will hit on, and hopefully we will take a quarterback. And by no means, by us saying we should be taking a quarterback, are we blaming Eli Manning for today's loss? Listen, we're not. Would you agree?
No, I think Eli, other than about 3 plays, he played a pretty darn good game.
Yeah. Eli, again, nothing against Eli. We love Eli here. We love what he's done for our franchise. We always will. But if you have a top 10 pick again in this coming draft class that's pretty loaded with quarterbacks, and you don't take a quarterback in the top 10, you're doing your franchise a disservice. Because this year's class, listen, you could argue taking Saquon over a quarterback, but I'll tell you what, you look through the NFL drafts, even if you say offensive line is a bigger concern, you look through, a lot of these drafts, these top 10 offensive linemen don't always pan out. They don't always pan out. You look at Eric Flowers, for example. How's that going? He was a top 10 pick. We took him before Todd Gurley. Let that sink in for a second.
At this point, it's one of those things where if you're the Giants, whether or not you like Eli Manning as the quarterback right now, whether or not you believe Eli Manning has years left, years as in like plural years left, you need to look in the mirror and say Eli he's gonna be what, 39 at the end of the season, or
39, 38.
38.
38.
So 38. I mean, it's
which in football years is 80. I mean, if we're being totally honest.
so. I mean, he's gonna be 38 years old. You got to look at some of the other quarterbacks. Even if let's say you play Eli next year, I mean, you got to prepare yourself for life after Eli, because obviously I think we both fell into the trap. We talked about it a little earlier on the show. We thought this team was going to be a lot better than they really are.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think Dave Gettleman and Pat Shurmur. Obviously, they want the team to be a contender every year, but realistically, I don't think these guys expected to, correct 3-13 in one season. I think that's an unfair expectation.
I agree. I just expected to, maybe be 2-3 at this point.
But
we probably should be, in all honesty.
But what I will say is, even if Eli's the quarterback next year, you got to start thinking about life after Eli, because if you can get, we have some decent players. Odell in a couple of years, 3, 4, 5 years, still going to be in his prime. Saquon's still going to be in his prime. It's time to start looking for that quarterback so that we can have a quarterback on a rookie contract with good players around him, kind of like what Philadelphia did last year, kind of what LA is currently doing with Jared Goff. And that's when you can strike and be really good.
I completely agree. A lot of people were like, "Oh, why did we take Saquon when Eli's 37?" But the answer is you could build with an elite offense and then make the finishing touch to that final quarterback. And this year we got a few. Justin Herbert from Oregon. That dude's going to be a stud. How tall is he, Matt? 6'6"?
6'6", 234 is what he's listed as.
So the dude is, I mean, he's a man amongst boys out there at Oregon.
He runs a 4.7 240. So,
which will be good, because in this offensive line, with the offensive line situation, he will be running for his life.
So I mean, but I think actually he was recruited as a dual threat quarterback, not a pro style. So I mean, if obviously he's turned into what a pro style quarterback. If you guys don't know who Justin Herbert is, quarterback from Oregon, go to YouTube, watch some of his film. I mean, he's the consensus #1 quarterback this year. I don't think anyone's going to challenge that. Obviously, some people have differing opinions, but I think he's most likely going to be the quarterback that gets taken first. And I mean, you're looking at probably, if we're being totally honest, and I don't want to overhype him here, probably like a better version of Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, which it has to be a better version of Marcus Mariota because Marcus Mariota is a bust. But that's a different conversation.
But I mean,
Yeah.
he can move he can move very well. Obviously, he's
Yeah, he
much bigger
can.
than Mariota.
He'll be better than Mariota.
He has a great arm. Again, you're looking at a very very good quarterback in Justin Herbert. And if you're the Giants and you are picking in the top 10, I think the goal needs to be to find a way to get this guy. So I mean, if that
Yeah.
requires trading, then you gotta get this guy.
Yeah, I agree. If that's their thought process, um, then yeah, then they've got to go get him. If that's not their thought process, if they want to wait for a few other guys, I know a guy who you and I both like is West Virginia University's Will Greer. Personally, the guy's been outstanding this year. I think 14 touchdowns to 3 picks. What I like about him is that he has a lot of experience throwing the ball downfield to an elite wide receiver threat. What's the kid's name on his team? I think it's Sills or something like that.
David Sills the third, I think, is his name.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, he throws the ball to that kid, and he's a downfield threat. Obviously, Greer could come, fit right in, throwing the ball to Odell down the field, over the top. So
Greer is a very good natural thrower. He's a very good arm. Obviously, the concern with Greer is I don't know if I want to say he's undersized because he's not. He's 6'2". He's 6'2", 220. So
he's just not oversized.
He's not as big as like Herbert. He's not going to move as well as Herbert. He's a good natural thrower. I think that there's going to be some questions about his velocity on the football. Not to get too technical, but I agree with you. I think he could be a very good quarterback in the National Football League.
Yeah, he's solid. Watch him play sometime. Watch the Mountaineers play. It's electric because they don't have a defense, but their offense is great, so the games are always shootouts.
You know what, Dan? I'm gonna bring up
just normal Big 12 football.
I'm gonna bring up a guy. I know we talked about it a little earlier pre-show. I'm not a huge fan of him. I do like what some GMs, who obviously know much more than we do, have said about him, and that's Drew Lock.
Nope. We are not doing that.
And this is
we could talk about him. We could talk about him, but we're not taking Drew Lock. We cannot take Drew Lock.
I want to point out what some people have said about Lock. Okay, and one NFL scout said that he's Jay Cutler skill wise, but with Eli Manning's demeanor and work ethic. So if you're looking at it from that scout's perspective, we don't know who.
Why the fuck would you take him?
Why would you take him?
Yes.
Well,
Jay Cutler.
Yes, Jay Cutler. Listen. Okay, Jay Cutler, from a skill level standpoint, had a rocket arm, could make all the throws. Okay, his effort, his heart was not there. His film study was not there.
Are you saying Jay Cutler didn't care about the team and only cared about himself?
Exactly. So if
are you insinuating that right now?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm insinuating. So
that's a bull.
If you get a guy like Drew Lock, who has the skill set of Jay Cutler, again, statistically not a great quarterback, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that he didn't try. So if you get a guy like Drew Lock and he has a good skill set, I mean, if we're talking first round QB skill set, and he puts in the effort, he puts in the time, he has a quiet demeanor, which, as we know, has worked really well with Eli in New York for a while. I'm not saying Drew Lock should be our lock. I'm not locking Drew Lock in as a first round pick for the Giants.
Nice pun.
Thank you. I'm just saying that he's another guy that the Giants are definitely going to be looking at.
Yeah, look at him all you want. I Googled Drew Lock. I shit you not. This is the two things that comes up. Number one, Giants select Missouri QB Drew Lock in way too early CBS mock draft. So yay, that's great. Thanks CBS for trying to put that curse on our franchise. The next suggested article that I should read is watch Drew Lock throws one of the worst pick sixes you'll ever see. So Dave Gettleman, I'm begging you. I'm begging, and I'm going to watch it right now just to see it. But I'm begging you, David Gettleman, do not do this to me. Please do not do this to me. That's all I ask.
And while we're talking about this, for those of you guys that don't know, a lot of times the media finds out who the Giants have watched, and we know for a fact the Giants have been to at least 2 of Justin Herbert's games, and they've also have been to one of Dwayne Haskins' games, Ohio State.
Yes, I actually like Haskins.
This is what I will say. This is what I will say. The Giants sent scouts to an Ohio State game. Does that mean they were watching Dwayne Haskins? No.
They could have been watching a lot of guys on that team.
Ohio State has a lot of players that could be drafted. So obviously they were getting a look at Haskins. Haskins may not even come out. I think he's a redshirt sophomore. So there's not even saying he's going to come out. So we don't even know if that's the case. But Haskins is a guy who could potentially be someone who we pick. And I
like him. I actually don't hate him.
I think that if we're talking quarterbacks, with the way the NFL guys currently view them, Haskins is probably the second, right behind Herbert. I think there is a pretty big gap though between Herbert and the next guy, but Haskins probably is second.
Yeah. Personally, for me, it's like Justin Herbert. It's Justin Herbert and Will Grier is 1 and 1A. Personally. But I'm not in an NFL front office. The only thing, and Matt, we were both right about this guy going in the top 5. Corey Davis. We both called that spot on. All the analysts had Mike Williams going ahead of him. And you and I, we both had him as a top 5 talent in that draft. And the poor man went to the wrong team because the Titans suck. But
yeah, the Titans don't have a quarterback. I mean, I'm ready to write off Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, he's a bust. He's a bust. Titans are 3-2 right now. Marcus Mariota's a bust. They drafted a bust. I will die on that hill. He sucks. So, sorry about that little tangent there. But, yeah, I mean,
also,
sometimes...
thinking about this again, for a lot of you that didn't want the Giants to take a quarterback, Saquon Barkley is not a bust. He will not be a bust.
No.
So Saquon Barkley, while doesn't have the shelf life of quarterback, obviously, a lot of people really wanted Darnold. Darnold has looked pretty darn good. I shouldn't say he's looked good because he hasn't looked good. He's flashed a lot of potential. When you take a quarterback at 2 or in the top 5, which the Giants eventually are going to have to do again, it does come with a lot of risk.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely does. But if you look at the Rams again, obviously they're top notch. They're top of the top right now. They're probably the best team in football right now, not named the Kansas City Chiefs. But you look at them, how they built their team. They took their running back, then they got their O-line, then they got their quarterback. Essentially, is kind of how it went through. So here's the deal, though. If the Giants have a top 10 pick and they do not take a quarterback, that's a huge mistake this year.
It's
a huge mistake. There's enough people who think that it was a mistake not taking a quarterback last year, which personally I think they're wrong. But
listen, okay, if you're sitting there, and Sam Darnold had a lot of great reviews, Josh Rosen had a lot of great reviews. They were my 2 favorite quarterbacks last year. I think if the Giants chose either guy at 2, it would have been a really good pick in the long run. But Justin Herbert's coming off the board here, and I mean we're talking NFL scouts are comparing him to Carson Wentz, Andrew Luck, like that type of player. And I think you just can't pass that up. You passed it up last year to take Barkley. Okay, this year since we passed it up last year, you can't do it 2 years in a row. You can't.
You absolutely can't. You cannot do that, and you're 100% right. So if you're in the situation where you can pick that QB of the future, and I'm looking here, sorry, we're recording at 7:26 p.m. right now, and the Eagles just lost. So
2-3. We could have been 2-3.
Ooh,
we could have been 2-3 just like the Eagles today.
Sure. And Thursday night's game could have been a loser leaves town game, but now instead it's just a loser's game. But
I guess
Yeah.
if we win on Thursday, then we're both 2-4.
Yeah. That's added motivation just for me because if again the likelihood of going to the playoffs at 2-4 isn't very high.
And that would mean the Eagles would. I mean, we're talk about a Super Bowl hangover.
Yeah, it'd be great if they missed the playoffs, and if we didn't win the division and the team has to win the division, I hope the Redskins end up not sucking.
The R word, yeah.
Because I can't deal with another Dallas Cowboys playoff run. I can't deal with those.
Listen,
idiots down there in
if
Texas.
we're being honest,
I
if we're being honest, if we're all being honest, the Redskins won't win a playoff game. If Washington makes the playoffs, they're not winning a playoff game. They're the least likely to do anything like that. So
yeah, but if Dallas goes to the playoffs, the refs will probably give them at least the wild card game because that's just normally standard protocol.
I don't see Dallas getting into the playoffs though. So
I don't either because they're terrible, but I don't know. We'll see. The Eagles could always turn around too. You never know. We could always turn around, but I got a headache just thinking about all that. But yeah, drafting a quarterback. We're kind of all over the place today, as I'm sure you can imagine. Being a Giants fan right now is tough, to say the least. It's been a tough few years, so I'm sure you would agree, Matt.
Oh yeah, it's been a tough 7 years.
Yeah, it's been brutal. So yeah, moving along. We normally need proof to do this, but we're gonna give the Dallas Cowboys Idiot Fan of the Week for the fifth straight.
No, we have proof.
What?
We have proof.
Okay, cool.
We have proof.
What's the proof? You want us to announce it first?
Let's announce it first, then I'll say the proof.
Okay. I was just going based off assumption, but I'm ready to hear this. I'm surprised. All right, for the fifth time in our fifth episode, our Davis Webb episode, RIP and Peace. The Dallas Cowboys Idiot Fan of the Week is, drum roll please, Skip Bayless.
Woo, 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 woo! This week, Skip Bayless on his absolutely awful TV show that I will not name because I do not want to give it any recognition, came out and said that Ezekiel Elliott is already better than Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith has played, I mean, we're talking, he had a 15-year NFL career. He had 1,800 rushing yards. He had
18,000.
I'm sorry, yes.
18,000.
18,000. 18,000, not 1,800. He had 18,000 rushing yards. He had 160-plus touchdowns. He had, again, true bell cow who led the league in rushing 4 or 5 times. Obviously, as Giants fans, we do not like him, but
no, we are an anti-Emmitt Smith podcast.
Yes, and we're talking about a Hall of Fame running back. Elliott's through 2 years, maybe what? We're talking 35 games he's played in so far is already better than him. That's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah. That's a hot take. I think it's too early to say. I think Ezekiel Elliott is really good, even though he's on the worst team ever. But to say he's better than, that would be like us drafting an edge rusher and being like, oh, he's already better than Lawrence Taylor after 2 seasons.
Oh, I know.
It'd almost be like JPP, who was an edge rusher, just like Lawrence Taylor, after he had his great second season, which ended up being his best season of his career. It was almost like, it would be like us saying, oh, this guy's better than Lawrence Taylor. And in essence,
you know what? I'm going to be totally honest with you, Dan. It would be like us already anointing Saquon Barkley as the best running back the franchise has ever had. He's on his way there. He's most likely going to be. Okay? But, I mean, Tiki Barber did so much statistically for so long.
Yeah.
You can't quite give it to him yet. You can't give it to him yet. But, it's definitely possible. And Elliott, it's possible that Elliott could end up better than Smith. But it's also kind of not.
Yeah. Random question.
Sure.
Who? Sorry, I just was thinking about Tiki Barber. You know who I thought of when I thought of Tiki Barber?
Who?
I thought of Ron Dane. Remember Ron Dane?
Yeah.
Yeah. The big fat pig. Ron Dane. He just entered my mind. I'm like, well, who Who's one Giants player? Because I didn't like Rondane. Obviously, he was terrible. But who's one Giants player who you liked, who might be like from a little bit way back? Maybe go back, that isn't as well known that you still are like, wow, I really like that guy. Does
Okay.
anybody come to your mind?
All right. Who's yours? Who's
Play
yours?
a little game. Think about the better times.
Who's yours?
Who's mine? I always loved Jabril Wilson. He was always on. He was only on our. I believe he only spent 1 year with us, and it was with it was the 2007 team that won. Jabril Wilson is up there. On the offensive side of the ball, Ike Hilliard was great. Amani Toomer. But Amani Toomer obviously is probably a little bit more recent than 10 years. I think he might be 10 years to the year. Shockey. But everybody knew Shockey, so I don't know. What about you?
The first name that popped into my head was Rich Soibert.
Okay.
Because if we're being honest with ourselves, Rich
He's also
Soibert,
number 69.
Rich Soibert, yeah, nice. Rich
Yeah.
Soibert was a very good offensive lineman for the Giants for a very long time.
He was. He was quite a good player.
He really, I mean, he really, he helped us win the 07 Super Bowl. Another player, just again, the name offensive linemen because they don't get enough love. David Deal.
Yep. Hey, he's a great broadcaster now.
He is. He is a great broadcaster, but he doesn't get a whole lot of love, and he was a very good offensive lineman. I mean, I think he really
left tackle.
Yep.
He played every position.
Yep. He moved into guard. He basically played every position. Yep. Defensively, let's see. You said Jabril Wilson, right?
Yeah, I used to love Jabril Wilson. He was great.
Old school player. That's tough. I always liked Corey Webster, but I feel like Corey Webster always got a lot of love.
C-Web. Yeah, dude, C-Web was great.
Webster always got a lot of love. Antonio Pierce was great. He also always got a ton of love.
Yeah.
You
remember OC, Fred Robbins, the big nose tackle?
I do remember Fred Robbins. Fred Robbins was, he was good. He was good back then. He was a solid player.
Yeah.
OC should have gotten more love, in my opinion. He still got a lot of love, OC, but OC was a lot better than we gave him.
Yeah, I feel like everybody loved OC.
But yeah. I think
OC was an outstanding player.
We took, I think, as a fan base, we took OC's ability to get to the quarterback a little too much for granted.
Yeah.
Especially right now, seeing with what we currently got.
Yeah, geez. By the way, okay, we're gonna call that segment. We're just gonna call it Member Berries. And we're just going to do it every once in a while. We're just going to talk about the good old days.
Especially since the Giants football is awful now.
Yeah. Hey Matt, do you remember Super Bowl 42?
I do. Do you remember it?
I do. What about Super Bowl 46? You remember that?
I remember that as well.
Yeah. Do you remember the 2007 NFC Championship game?
I do. I remember.
I remember. That was fun.
What
about that 2006 game? What was that?
I was going to say, do you remember risking your life cheering during that game?
Oh yeah, because we were little kids. How old were you? I was 13. No, I was 12.
We were like 12 and 10.
12 and 10, yeah.
No. You might have been 12. I had just turned 11.
Okay. Yeah. I turned 12. I turned 13 a couple days later. But yeah. So I was 12, you were 11. We were in a bar in Disney World.
Yep, we were on vacation at Disney, and we chose to watch the Giants instead.
Which is a no-brainer. And we were in some bar at the Wilderness Lodge at Disney watching this game, and we were the only two Giants fans there. It was all Green Bay Packers fans. It was pretty funny. And we've just kind of adopted that as we've gotten older and gone to places because everybody likes to talk shit about Eli and pisses me off. But yeah, so I remember those are the good times. That's what Giants football should do. And that's my biggest fear is that all these kids coming up now, they're not going to have those memories that we have. They're not going to remember Eli in a positive light. And that's concerning to me.
And to be fair, Eli hasn't been been anything special the last like 3 years, but he was something great. Um,
Oh, for sure. And listen, he's not been anywhere close to what we need the starting quarterback of the New York Giants to be on the field. Um, but off the field, the man is, I mean, he's great. He's a legend. And quite frankly, like Eli Manning will be my favorite New York Giants player for probably forever. And the man
it's my
should be a Hall of
quarterback.
Famer.
My quarterback.
Yeah,
My teammate. Not
he
my.
should absolutely be a Hall of Famer. It's been a great run, but we're getting close to the end. The roller coaster ride's coming to an end.
And
And I
on
guess this
that,
is probably a good place to.
I was going to say, on
What was
that
that?
depressing thought, let's wrap up the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I guess that'll be a good place to end it. Um, so all good things must come to an end. This episode 5 of the podcast must come to an end. So
And
yeah,
and
we'll
folks,
come
it's
back to you soon.
October. It's October 7th, 2018, and the Giants' playoff hopes have come to an end.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a rough one. We're gonna come back at you. We've tried to do it every week, but I'm a grad student. Matt's in his last semester of college, double majoring in accounting and finance. Not to brag on him, but
Go
good
ahead.
for him.
Anything else? Anything else you want to mention about while we're
So,
bragging on me?
No,
Okay.
no, I've inflated your ego too much. We're also working on writing a book. That's going to be really great, and hopefully it's done by Christmas because it's kind of got a little Christmas theme to it. But yeah, so in the sense that it just takes place around Christmas, coincidentally. But yeah, so we're going to try to come at you. I doubt we'll get one after the Eagles game, but we'll be with you. Follow along on the page, facebook.com/Giants366. Follow us. Follow me on Twitter at Dancouver95. Follow Matt on Twitter. What's your Twitter?
At Matt _D 17.
There you go. Do that. Cool. As the Red Zone channel wraps up for the day, as we wrap up for the day, go Giants. Hopefully the next time we talk to you all, we will be somehow
2-4.
good. Yeah. Ooh, dude, if we could be 2-4, that'll really get the engines going. But all right, guys, we love you guys. We'll talk to you later.
All right.